If someone uses your past against you, say this: when someone tries to use your past against you, pause before reacting. You don't owe anyone a defense for the person you used to be. Your past is not a weapon, it's a lesson. Every mistake, every heartbreak, every wrong turn shaped the strength standing here today. So when someone tries to throw your past in your face, breathe and remind yourself that version of you taught you everything you needed to become who you are now. You've outgrown the story they're still stuck in. You see, people who use your past against you aren't really talking about you. They're revealing their own discomfort with your growth. Because when you rise, you remind them of the courage they never found. You've evolved, healed, forgiven yourself, and moved forward, while they're still flipping through old pages, hoping to find the power to hurt you. But here's the truth: they can't shame someone who has made peace with their story. When you've done the inner work, when you've faced your demons and owned your truth, their words lose all weight. The next time someone brings up your past, look them in the eyes and say calmly, "That chapter closed a long time ago." Growth silences gossip. You don't need to defend what's already been redeemed. The person they're talking about doesn't exist anymore. You've grown stronger, wiser, and far more grounded than they realize. The ones who can't let go of your past usually haven't moved past theirs. They cling to the old version of you because it's easier than confronting the new, confident, self-aware version standing in front of them. So don't argue, don't explain, just smile and say, "I've made peace with my past." Have you? Because your peace will always irritate those who thrive on chaos. Your healing is louder than their judgment. You've learned boundaries, forgiveness, and the kind of self-respect that doesn't seek validation anymore. And that's what truly frustrates small-minded people. They can't access the healed version of you. When they bring up your past, they're hoping to pull you back into an old emotional space where you felt unworthy, guilty, or ashamed. But that version of you doesn't live here anymore. You've outgrown that frequency. You can simply respond, "That part of my story taught me resilience." Let them sit with their judgment while you move forward with grace. Because people who love you now, people who truly see you, don't care who you were. They value who you've become. Your past doesn't define you. It refined you. It burned away illusions, stripped you of people who didn't deserve your loyalty, and revealed your true power. Every scar is proof that you didn't give up. Every regret became wisdom. You've turned your pain into purpose. So when someone tries to reduce you to an old version of yourself, don't let it shake you. Smile, walk away, and know that your growth speaks louder than any rumor. The truth is, your transformation makes some people uncomfortable because it forces them to confront their own stagnation. They'll gossip, they'll project, they'll use your past to distract from their present. But remember, you don't have to participate in their narrative. You've rewritten your own. You are not your mistakes. You are your comeback. The next time someone uses your past against you, say this: "You're talking about someone I no longer am." That's your closure. That's your boundary. You're not here to convince anyone of your change. You're here to live it. People can only see you at the level they've healed. And if they choose to stay blind to your growth, that's their limitation, not yours. So stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Your energy is too valuable to spend defending your evolution to those who fear it. You've earned your peace. You've earned your freedom. And from now on, you don't owe anyone a replay of your past. You owe yourself a beautiful, powerful future. If someone uses your past against you, say this: there comes a point in life when you realize that not everyone who talks about your past deserves an answer. People who use your past against you are often the ones most threatened by your growth. They remember the version of you that was easy to control, easy to doubt, easy to make feel small. But that version of you doesn't exist anymore. You've walked through fire, you've faced your own reflection, and you've made peace with your mistakes. So when someone tries to drag you back into who you used to be, remember this: your past is not your prison, it's your proof of strength. Every decision you regret, every heartbreak you endured, every chapter that didn't make sense back then, all led you here. stronger, wiser, grounded, and unapologetically self-aware. The truth is, people who haven't healed will always try to weaponize your past. They want you to feel small because your growth reminds them of everything they've refused to face within themselves. They'll bring up your old choices, your failures, your weaknesses, hoping to make you question your worth. But when you've done the inner work, their words can't reach you anymore. You've learned that your past is not something to hide. It's something to honor. Because it taught you survival. It taught you resilience. It showed you the difference between who you were told to be and who you actually are. So the next time someone uses your past against you, take a breath and say calmly, "That chapter of my life is closed. It taught me what I needed to know." That one sentence holds more power than 1,000 defenses. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your evolution. People often cling to old versions of you because your transformation forces them to confront their own stagnation. They liked you better when you were uncertain, when you needed validation, when you were still figuring yourself out, because that version made them feel comfortable. Now, your confidence, your calm, your boundaries, they make them uneasy. You're no longer someone they can manipulate or guilt into silence. So they reach for your past, hoping to use it as leverage, but you've outgrown that emotional space. You've outgrown the need to prove you've changed. Because real transformation doesn't require permission. It simply shows up in how you move, how you speak, and how you protect your peace. The next time someone tries to throw your past in your face, don't defend it, redefine it. You can simply say, "That version of me helped me become who I am now." Because that's the truth. Without those mistakes, you wouldn't have learned boundaries. Without those heartbreaks, you wouldn't have found self-worth. Without those moments of being lost, you wouldn't have found your direction. Your past was never a waste, it was preparation. The pain you once carried turned into wisdom. The shame you once felt became strength. You didn't escape your past, you evolved through it. That's what people who weaponize your story can't understand. You no longer live there. When you've healed, your peace becomes your loudest response. You don't argue, you don't explain, you don't shrink. You simply stand tall in your truth. Because the moment you stop fearing your past, no one can use it to hurt you. Healing disarms judgment. The more you own your story, the less power it has over you. You can look at every scar, every memory, and every regret with gratitude instead of guilt. You learned, you grew, you became. That's the part of your story that matters. Not who you were, but who you chose to become despite it. And here's something powerful to remember. People will only ever see you at the level they've healed. Someone still living in shame and denial will project that same energy onto you. But that's not your responsibility to fix. Your only duty is to protect your peace and continue growing. The next time someone tries to define you by your past, look at them with calmness and say, "I've made peace with my story." Have you? That question alone shifts the power back to where it belongs. You're not reacting. You're reclaiming. You're reminding them, and yourself, that you've already done the work. You've faced what they're trying to use against you, and because of that, their judgment can't reach you anymore. Your past is not your enemy. It's your foundation. It taught you self-respect, patience, forgiveness, and courage. It taught you how to rebuild when everything fell apart. So stop seeing it as something to run from. Own it. Honor it. Let it remind you how far you've come. Because you are not your mistakes. You are your comeback. You are the lessons, not the losses. You are the peace that came after the storm. Every part of your past served a purpose, even the painful ones. It shaped your voice, your values, your strength. And now, no one gets to use it against you. So when someone tries to define you by who you used to be, don't respond with anger or shame. Respond with truth. Say this, "That version of me doesn't exist anymore. But I thank them for getting me here." Then walk away with grace. Because silence, when rooted in self-awareness, is more powerful than any argument. Your peace is proof of your transformation. And the ones who truly see you won't ever bring up your past to hurt you. They'll honor it as the reason you became who you are today. When they can't control you, they try to control how others see you. There's a specific kind of silence that happens when you stop reacting to manipulation. And that silence terrifies toxic people. Because when they can't control you anymore, they start controlling how others see you. It's one of the oldest, most predictable moves in the playbook of insecure people. The moment they realize they've lost power over your emotions, they try to rewrite your story. They'll gossip, twist the truth, and plant seeds of doubt in other people's minds. Not because you're wrong, but because your peace threatens the version of you they depended on. You stopped giving them the reaction that used to feed their ego, and now they're starving for control. But here's the truth. Their lies can't damage what your integrity protects. You don't have to chase rumors when your truth speaks louder in silence. Toxic people hate losing control, especially over someone they once manipulated. When you were still trying to explain yourself, defend yourself, or earn their understanding, they felt powerful. They liked being the one who could get a reaction out of you. But when you decided to walk away, when you chose peace over proving your point, they panicked. Because now, they can't reach you emotionally, and that's what control really is: access. So, when they lose access to your energy, they try to reach your reputation. They'll create stories, pretend to be the victim, and twist the narrative to make you look like the villain. Don't fall for it. When someone starts a smear campaign, it's never about truth, it's about control. You must remember, the version of you they're describing to others no longer exists. You've healed. You've grown. You've outgrown the need to convince anyone of who you are. People who know your heart won't believe the lies, and people who believe the lies were never meant to stay in your life. Your peace doesn't need defending. You don't need to speak louder than gossip. You just need to keep walking in truth. Eventually, their stories collapse under the weight of their own inconsistency. Time exposes everyone. Lies have short legs, they never run far. When they talk behind your back, let them. It's not your job to fix their version of you. It's your job to live in alignment with your values, so the real ones can see the truth through your actions. Silence doesn't mean weakness, it means wisdom. Because you can't fight every rumor, but you can outlive every lie. You can let your consistency, your calm, and your energy do the talking. People will notice who keeps spreading chaos and who keeps choosing peace. You don't have to chase clarity. Truth reveals itself in time. And when it does, those who believed the lies will realize who the real problem was all along. Toxic people manipulate narratives because they can't handle accountability. They will twist every story so they never have to face their own reflection. They'll call you crazy, cold, or fake. Not because you are, but because you stop tolerating their behavior. They'll label your boundaries as attitude, and your silence as guilt. But none of it's real. It's projection. They see in you what they can't face in themselves. When someone tries to destroy your reputation, it's because they've already lost access to your reality. Don't explain, don't defend, don't justify. Just live in such a way that anyone who hears their lies will naturally question them. You see, the people meant for you, your real tribe, will feel your truth without needing proof. They'll see how you carry yourself, how you treat others, how you stay grounded despite being misunderstood. That energy can't be faked. The people who believe rumors without asking you directly were never loyal to you. They were loyal to gossip. Let them go. The right people will always come back to truth. The wrong ones will expose themselves by chasing the noise, and that's the gift of betrayal. It reveals who was real and who was only pretending. The best revenge against false narratives is elevation. Keep growing, keep healing, keep glowing in peace. Every time you rise, you remind them that they failed to break you. The lies will fade, but your character will last. Don't interrupt your peace to correct their story. They're telling it to distract themselves from their own guilt. You've already moved on. You're building a new life, one that doesn't require validation or permission. That's what drives them mad. They can't stand that you're doing better without their approval. Your success, your peace, your confidence, those are the loudest responses. And when people come to you saying, "They said this about you," smile and reply, "That's okay. Everyone's allowed their opinion. I know my truth." That calm, grounded energy will speak louder than any defense. Because people who try to destroy your name are really trying to destroy your peace. Don't give them the satisfaction. Keep showing up as yourself, consistent, kind, and unbothered. The ones who matter will see through the lies. The rest were never meant to. So, when they can't control you anymore, and they start controlling how others see you, let them talk. Let them tell their version of the story. Because one day, they'll realize you never needed to say a word. The truth always finds its way back. Your silence is not weakness, it's dignity. Your calm is not fear, it's wisdom. You've already won by walking away. You don't need to destroy their narrative. Your peace already did. Stop explaining yourself to fake people. There comes a moment in life when you realize that not everyone deserves access to your energy, your truth, or your explanations. Some people don't want to understand you. They want to drain you. They'll twist your words, question your motives, and make you doubt your own clarity. But the truth is, fake people don't misunderstand you by accident. They misunderstand you on purpose. Because if they actually understood you, they'd lose the power to manipulate the narrative. That's why you have to stop explaining yourself to fake people. You don't owe an explanation to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. You owe yourself peace, not permission. When you find yourself constantly explaining your intentions, your choices, or your feelings to someone, take a step back and ask, do they even care to understand? Real people listen to understand. Fake people listen to reply. Or worse, to use your words against you later. They'll nod, pretend to empathize, then twist your truth into something that fits their story. They're not after understanding, they're after control. They thrive on confusion because it keeps you emotionally entangled. The more you explain, the more they question. The more you justify, the less they respect you. But the moment you stop engaging, the game ends. They lose the power to pull your strings when you stop handing them explanations to use as weapons. You don't need to defend your boundaries to those who keep crossing them. You don't need to prove your worth to those who can't see it. Fake people feed off the need to be validated, and they expect you to do the same. But when you stop explaining yourself, when you start saying, no, without explanation, it terrifies them, because it means you've reclaimed your power. You're no longer accessible in the way they expect. Silence becomes your strength. It's not about arrogance, it's about self-respect. You've realized that not every question deserves an answer, and not every accusation deserves a defense. Sometimes peace looks like saying nothing at all. The hardest part about letting go of the need to explain is the fear of being misunderstood. But here's the truth. People who want to misunderstand you will always find a way. No matter how carefully you explain, you can speak from the heart, with honesty and calmness, and they'll still twist your words. Because fake people aren't listening to your truth. They're listening for something they can use. They're not curious. They're calculating. And when you finally see that, you'll stop wasting your breath trying to win over the wrong audience. Silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You're not cold, you're clear. You're not avoiding, you're protecting your peace. When you stop explaining yourself to fake people, you create space for real connections. The ones where you don't have to shrink or defend your character. Genuine people feel your intentions without you having to over-explain them. They sense your energy, your sincerity, your effort. You can show up authentically, without performing. That's the beauty of peace. It attracts what's real and repels what's fake. But to reach that level, you have to let go of your need to be understood by everyone. Some people need you to stay misunderstood so they can keep feeling right about their small-minded judgments. Let them. You're not here to convince. You're here to evolve. Fake people love to play the victim when you stop explaining yourself. They'll call you distant, arrogant, or selfish. They'll twist your silence into guilt. But remember, you don't owe them your emotional labor. You've explained yourself enough times to people who were never listening. Your peace doesn't require validation. Every time you defend yourself to someone who doesn't deserve it, you give them a little piece of your power. Every time you explain your boundaries to someone who keeps ignoring them, you teach them how to cross them more quietly next time. So stop Let them believe whatever they need to believe. Truth doesn't beg to be believed. It simply exists. You are not obligated to clear up the lies others tell about you. You are not required to make your intentions understood by people who thrive on chaos. Protect your energy. You owe no one a play, by play of your healing, your growth, or your peace. The people who truly know you will never need an explanation. The ones who demand one are just looking for another opening to manipulate your emotions. The more you explain, the more you enable their games. Silence, on the other hand, confuses them. Fake people don't know what to do when they can't provoke a reaction. They expect you to chase their approval. But when you choose stillness instead, they lose their grip. Your calmness becomes their confusion. Your silence becomes your strength. Stop explaining why you moved on, why you cut ties, why you changed. Fake people don't want closure. They want control. They'll twist your explanations into reasons to guilt, trip you back into dysfunction. Don't fall for it. Let your actions speak. Let your boundaries show what you will and won't allow. Let your peace be the final word. Because the truth is, people who genuinely care for you don't require explanations. They require honesty, and you've already given that. The rest is noise. So stop explaining yourself to fake people. They already decided who you are in their story. Let them have their version. You don't have to defend your truth in a room where lies are currency. You've outgrown that. Your energy is too valuable to be wasted on convincing the unconvincible. Walk away. Let silence say what words never could. You owe no one a justification for protecting your peace. The real ones will understand. The fake ones will talk. And you'll keep rising, unbothered, grounded, and free. Toxic people fear women who do this one thing. There's one thing that truly terrifies toxic people. A woman who is no longer afraid of being misunderstood. When a woman stops begging to be seen, heard, or approved, she becomes unstoppable. Toxic people lose their grip the moment you stop explaining, stop chasing, and stop trying to make them comfortable with your boundaries. They thrive on emotional chaos, on watching you doubt yourself, overthink, and apologize for simply existing. But when you step into your power, when you start choosing peace over approval, they panic. Because the energy they once fed on no longer lives inside you. You become unpredictable, not because you're cruel, but because you've finally learned how to protect your energy. And that's the one thing toxic people can't handle. A woman who chooses herself. Toxic people fear women who no longer need validation. They're used to control through guilt. They'll call you selfish when you set boundaries, dramatic when you express feelings, or distant when you finally stop reacting. That's their pattern. Twist your strength into weakness, your calm into coldness. But when you stop taking the bait, their tactics fall apart. They can't manipulate what doesn't respond. That's when you become powerful. A woman who no longer needs to prove her worth becomes untouchable. You stop over-explaining, you stop apologizing for your standards, and you start walking away when peace costs too much. That energy shift scares every toxic person who once relied on your empathy to get away with disrespect. They'll test you. Oh, they will. They'll push your buttons to see if you'll break character, if you'll return to the old version of yourself who tolerated their games. But you've evolved. You no longer seek closure from chaos. You no longer confuse connection with pain. You've learned that silence can be stronger than any argument, and that's what frightens them. Your emotional detachment. They can't feed off what no longer bleeds. They can't provoke someone who sees through their manipulation. When you start saying no, without guilt and goodbye, without fear, toxic people lose their power completely. A woman who heals herself becomes dangerous to those who benefit from her brokenness. You're no longer predictable. They can't use your insecurities to control you. You've learned how to stay calm while they try to create confusion. You've learned how to observe without reacting. You've learned that sometimes the most powerful response is silence. Toxic people crave drama. It's how they feel significant. But your peace, your stillness, suffocates that need. You're not cold, you're healed. You're not distant. You're discerning. You're not heartless. You're finally protecting your heart from those who mistook your kindness for weakness. Toxic people fear accountability, and a self-aware woman holds up a mirror they can't stand to see. You expose their games just by existing in truth. When you don't respond to manipulation, you force them to sit with their own behavior. And that's something they can't do. They'd rather blame you than face themselves. That's why they label strong women as difficult or too much, because it's easier to discredit you than admit they can't control you anymore. But remember, their opinion doesn't define your worth. It reveals their weakness. The louder they gossip, the clearer it becomes that your silence has power. What toxic people fear most is your emotional independence, the ability to validate yourself, to soothe yourself, to choose solitude over chaos. They can't intimidate someone who no longer fears being alone. They can't manipulate a woman who knows her peace is worth more than their approval. You've learned that loneliness isn't the absence of people, it's the presence of the wrong ones. And once you understand that, you stop tolerating half-love, fake apologies, and forced connections. You'd rather stand alone in peace than surrounded by people who drain your soul. That realization alone makes you powerful beyond measure. You see, when you rise above manipulation, you start to glow differently. You walk differently. You speak with calmness, not anger. You don't argue to be understood anymore. You observe to stay aligned. Toxic people can sense when they've lost emotional control over you. And that's when they start to fear you. Because they can no longer predict you. They can no longer use your empathy as a tool. They can no longer guilt you into staying. You've taken your power back, and nothing terrifies them more than that. They will try to make you look like the villain, but deep down, they know the truth. You were the one who finally saw through the act. And here's the most powerful part the woman toxic people fear most isn't loud or vengeful. She's calm, grounded, soft yet unshakable. She doesn't need revenge. Her peace is her revenge. She doesn't seek validation. Her energy speaks for her. She's not out to prove her worth. She knows it. That woman walks away from manipulation with grace, and that's what destroys toxic people. Her indifference. They can't stand that she doesn't react. They can't handle that she's no longer emotionally available for their games. When you become that woman, you no longer attract toxicity. You expose it. So if you want to know what toxic people truly fear, it's your peace, your healed energy, your quiet confidence. The moment you choose yourself without guilt, you become the storm they can't control. You are no longer defined by how they see you, but by how you see yourself. They'll talk, they'll twist, they'll try to trigger you, but it won't work anymore, because you've risen above their level of control. You've become everything they never expected. Calm, clear, confident, and free. And that's the kind of woman no toxic person can ever handle. Set these boundaries to command respect, and deal with toxic people. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors with locks, and you get to choose who enters. The moment you start setting boundaries, you shift from being easy to access to being respected. Toxic people hate that shift because it takes away their control. They thrive in blurred lines, where they can manipulate, guilt, trip, and gaslight without consequences. But when you start setting clear boundaries, they lose their favorite weapon, your emotional availability. Boundaries are not about being rude or cold, they're about protecting your peace. You can love people deeply and still refuse to let them drain you. You can care and still say no. You can forgive and still never allow the same disrespect twice. That's not cruelty, that's self-respect. The truth is, toxic people fear boundaries because boundaries expose them. They can only exist where confusion lives. They rely on your silence, your over-explaining, and your endless empathy. They test how far they can push, how much they can take, and how long they can manipulate before you finally draw the line. The moment you do, they panic. Because now you're not reacting, you're responding. You're not emotional, you're empowered. You're no longer playing their game, you're rewriting the rules. And that's where your power begins. When you realize that you're allowed to choose peace over pleasing people. The first boundary you must set is emotional distance. Stop allowing people to have access to your feelings just because they demand it. You are not obligated to explain your emotions to those who cause them. When you stop reacting to every trigger, you take away their control. Toxic people love to watch you unravel. It feeds their ego. But when you stay calm, they lose power. Silence is your new language. It's how you reclaim your peace without saying a word. Not every insult deserves a defense. Not every rumor deserves a reaction. Protect your energy by refusing to be pulled into unnecessary chaos. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. The second boundary is time. Stop giving unlimited access to people who only show up when it benefits them. Your time is currency. Treat it like it has value. When you start valuing your time, people have to earn it. Toxic people hate that because they're used to taking without giving. They'll try to guilt you for pulling away. But remember this. People who respect you will adjust to your boundaries. People who don't will leave. And that's your clarity. The moment you stop being available to disrespect, you start attracting people who treat you with genuine care. The third boundary is communication. Stop explaining your no. A full sentence is enough. You don't owe long explanations or justifications. Toxic people manipulate through conversation. They twist your words, guilt-trip you, and make you feel like the problem. But when you learn to communicate clearly and calmly, they can't use your words against you anymore. Saying, "No," without anger is power. Saying, "That doesn't work for me," without apology is freedom. The less you explain, the more peaceful your life becomes. The fourth boundary is self-prioritization. For too long, you've been pouring into people who wouldn't fill a cup for you. You've been showing up for others while neglecting yourself. That ends now. Prioritizing yourself is not selfish, it's essential. You cannot heal, grow, or evolve if you're constantly drained by toxic energy. The people who truly love you will understand your need for space, solitude, and self-focus. Those who don't will accuse you of changing. And they're right, you have. You've changed from someone who tolerated disrespect to someone who demands respect. You're finally protecting your peace instead of performing for approval. The fifth and most powerful boundary is energetic access. You don't have to block everyone to protect your peace. Sometimes, you just have to stop giving them emotional reactions. When you stop responding with anger or tears, toxic people lose interest. They crave emotional chaos. When you respond with calm, detached energy, it confuses them. They can't manipulate what doesn't react. Protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. Your energy determines the quality of your life. When you guard it, you glow differently. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you hate people. It means you love yourself enough to stop allowing chaos in your space. You don't need to announce your boundaries. Your consistency will teach people how to treat you. You're not cold. You're clear. You're not selfish. You're secure. You're not distant. You're discerning. Boundaries filter out what doesn't belong in your peace. They teach people where you end and where they begin. You'll notice the shift. The more you respect yourself, the fewer explanations you give, the quieter your life becomes. And that quiet is not emptiness. It's alignment. Toxic people will always resist your boundaries because they expose the truth. They were never here for you, only for what they could take from you. They'll call you changed, difficult, or ungrateful. But remember, the only people who get offended by your boundaries are the ones who benefited from you having none. Let them leave. You don't need to chase anyone when peace is your priority. The right people will respect your limits. The wrong ones will remove themselves when they realize they can't control you anymore. That's not loss. That's protection. Boundaries are the highest form of self-love. They are how you teach others how to treat you, but more importantly, how you teach yourself what you deserve. When you stop over-giving, over-explaining, and over-compensating, you start living. You start breathing differently. You start attracting peace that doesn't require pain. You no longer live in survival mode. You thrive in self-respect. And that's what truly commands respect. Not loudness, not confrontation, but quiet confidence. A calm no, a peaceful silence, a steady self-awareness. That's your power. So set those boundaries with love, with calmness, with conviction. Because the day you stop letting toxic people drain you is the day you start honoring yourself. And that's the moment your life begins to change. The peace you protect today will become the strength you stand on tomorrow. Remember, you don't lose people when you set boundaries. You lose manipulators, users, and emotional vampires. You lose chaos and gain clarity. You lose guilt and gain peace. Boundaries are not rejection. They are redirection, away from what drains you and toward what aligns with your soul. That's how you command respect, not by demanding it, but by embodying it.